Hello, I want to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian situation and hopefully bring some thinking around peace to that situation. The first thing I want to do is to talk about my feelings of empathy and love and care and concern for the people of the kibbutzes in Israel who were murdered, and to their families and to the people who were taken hostage and captured, and also to send my love to the people in Gaza, the civilians in Gaza who are being bombarded, who don't know whether to stay in their houses or whether to flee, who haven't got food, water and electricity, to all the people involved in this ghastly, terrible situation, including the friends and loved ones and families outside of Israel and Gaza who are watching this from afar and with terrible feelings. So that's really the first step. The second is I want to really apply the generative citizen model to this. So first step in the generative citizen model is that for me to think about this in a constructive and creative way, I need to be in what we call coach state, which is a state of well-being, an empowered state, a body-mind connected state, where all of myself is available and my heart is open. And that's the first step. And that may be quite a lot to get to that step in the first place. And of course, you may have meditation practices or sports that you do, or walking in nature, or sharing with loved ones, or remembering your inner resources. There may be lots of methods that you need to do to bring yourself to this first step. But unless you're feeling that open, empowered feeling, your thinking isn't going to be very helpful in this situation. The second step, which of course can be done in parallel with the first step, is that to look at our own, to look at ourselves, my own personal history. What gets touched in my personal history? What gets touched in my family history? What gets touched in my ancestral history, and also for my ethnic group as well? Both what gets touched in terms of pain and suffering and loss, but also in terms of the resources and empowerment and qualities and competences that I bring, that I've learned through my own life and through that of my lineage. And to really be aware of that, and particularly to be aware of the difficult things we bring, because of course that will colour our view of the situation and what needs to be done. And then the third step, which we've talked about already, which is empathy. Empathy for my own condition, for my own difficulty with this. For example, I can dissociate sometimes in these sorts of situations when empathy would be better. So empathy for that in myself, and also empathy for the people, all the parties in the conflict, particularly I have to say to the civilians, who really are the innocent ones here. But to bring understanding, to wonder about all of the parties. Gregory Bateson says that wisdom is having multiple points of view within a system. And so then the next stage after that is communication, which is, who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to reach out to? Who can, perhaps for myself to start with, who can support me in my feelings? And then are there other people that I want to reach out to and communicate with? And when I communicate about difficult things, when I want to talk about things that are perhaps provocative, how can I do that in a way that people can even hear a glimmer of, or can get a sense of, not feel attacked in that process? Because if you're trying to create peace, attacking doesn't really work, although it's very, very tempting in this situation. People want to express their outrage, but yet to find a way of expressing ourselves. How did Nelson Mandela do it? How did Mahatma Gandhi do it? How can we do it in a way that can be heard, that can be respected? So that's the communication part. And then the final step is just to understand the social history of Palestine, of Israel, to really make sure that you actually know the facts of the situation, how we got to this place, and not just the facts as provided by one side, but the sort of historical facts, a really important starting point. And then you can understand the feelings on either side. You can understand the feelings of the Jews who went to Israel after the Second World War, and you can understand the feelings of the Palestinians who've been living there all along, whose land was taken, And you can understand actually the feelings of the Europeans and the Americans and the people in the United Nations who felt so guilty about what happened in the Second World War. We can sort of understand all of those, to have some sense of all of this, rather than just an individual, a single point of view. There's somebody called Bernie Glassman who founded an organization called Peacemakers. And peacemakers are about making peace in the world, and they take people into situations that they wouldn't normally inhabit. So, for example, they've taken, rich middle-class people to go and sit on the street in New York as beggars. They've taken people to Auschwitz. And they have a model that I think is really a powerful and effective model that really helps with this. The first is to have a not knowing. We don't know how to solve this. Just killing people doesn't really usually work. It usually creates another generation of people who come back and kill you. The cycle of violence happens through one person kills the next lot, then those people or their children come back and kill you. It goes on and on and on. So there isn't an easy solution to all of this. And just being open to that not knowing, feeling the pain, and having a sense that actually I don't really know what will bring peace to the Middle East, to really have that sense. And then their second step in their practice is witnessing. So let me listen to the Israelis. Let me listen to my Jewish friends. Let me listen to my Palestinian friends. Let me listen to the people that I know who are socialist and people with quite extreme socialist views like Noam Chomsky. Let me listen to all the parties. Let me be aware of all of those things. Let me really get a sense. Let me empathize with everybody in this system before I come to any conclusions. That's wisdom. And then the final step is healing oneself and healing others. So first, how do I bring resources to myself that I need to face into this situation? There was something, for example, that happened to me at 9/11, which was a dissociation, which I've had to go back and really spend some time with, because it has affected my view of what's going on here. So how do we bring healing to ourselves, and how do we bring healing to people around us, and how do we bring healing to the families in Israel and the families in Gaza that need our support so much at this time? And then we get ourselves to this place of not knowing, of really witnessing, being interested, and of being a healing force both for ourselves, first for ourselves and then for other people. And then out of that, what can come from that? I want to end with a quote from Bayo Akamalafe, which goes like this. You see, when the world becomes too solid for nuance, when it hardens up and crystallizes into a binary force, into a binary that forces you to pick a side, compelling you to become intelligible to the hardness that creeps on its once loamy surfaces, cracks becomes the first responder. We need a politics of tenderness more than ever, not tenderness as capitulation to particular conclusions that have already been made, not tenderness as, if you don't see the world as I do, there's something wrong with you, but tenderness as the nurturing of grace that allows something different, something even beautiful, to be born in the midst of the fires. So that's my prayer, that something can be born in the midst of the fires that brings peace to the Middle East.